Life's Too Short is a mockumentary about the life and times of actor Warwick Davis. So I play a fictionalised version of myself. The Warwick Davis in the show is he shares my career background. So he talks about being in Star Wars and Willow, but he gets annoyed when people don't recognise him from those. He's got a big tax bill. He's getting a divorce, and his career is on the slide. He had success, and now things aren't going so well. So the idea of inviting a documentary to follow his life is really to raise his profile again and make some money to pay off this huge tax bill. Ricky and I, we put out a lot of podcasts and little video clips months ago, which people have confused actually as being sequences from the show itself, but they're not. They were just things that me and Ricky did in our spare time, basically. An example of that would be A Froggy Day in London. That has nothing to do with Life's Too Short at all. It's just we fancied dressing me up as a frog. There is a part 2 to that may come out, and then it'll all become clear why I was dressed as a frog. But at this point, it's confusing people. I did feel the pressure a bit because, essentially they're putting their trust in me to, bring this show to the screen as the lead performer in it. Ricky and Stephen are in it, but it really centres on me. So I did have that, I felt the responsibility of doing that. And at the same time, everyone's watching, really. The world is anticipating, is this going to be as good as their previous work? It's a shame that people won't be able to just judge it on its merits for itself, but, that's true of any artist. You always judge them on their past works. It's interesting. People have already formed an opinion of the show and they haven't even seen it. And I think partly that's based on some of the early clips that have nothing to do with the show. But people are going to assume that because the central character is a dwarf and Ricky and Stephen are writing it, then it's going to be some sort of outrageous thing that is poking fun at little people. But if you look at what Ricky and Stephen have done before, their work in The Office with Julie Fernandez's character, who was the girl in the wheelchair. We weren't laughing at her, we were laughing at the way people treated her, David Brent and Gareth, how they were around her. And that's what they do. They very cleverly pick up on, people's attitudes and prejudice, and they highlight that. We had some great cameos in there. It was really exciting just to have Cheggers. To have Keith Cheggering in there. I grew up with Cheggers, and it was like, wow, Keith Cheggering, it's great. Having Johnny in, Johnny Depp to you, was a great day because it was the last day of filming, and we were kind of expecting a man who would be very shy and perhaps just come in and do his scenes and leave as quickly as possible. But he came in, he had photos with the crew and especially spent some time with my kids. He even gave them the little beads that Captain Jack wears in his hair as a souvenir. Had photos, did autographs, and then spent plenty of time doing the scenes with us. We'd run them a few times. He'd improvise. You never knew what was going to happen with Johnny. And then we went to film at a hotel, which is where I have a scene on my own with Johnny. And again, you never knew what was going to happen. But he was fantastic, as they all were. Liam Neeson, his cameo's amazing, and like you've never seen him before. I think the most outtakes from the whole series come from that one scene with Liam Neeson, because he's quite a giggler as well, and get him and Ricky together, and it's not a good mix. But Helena Bonham Carter, who I've worked with extensively on Harry Potter, she came in, amazing scene again. Cat Deeley, Right Said Fred, haven't been mentioned.
No.
But did you ever think you'd find Right Said Fred in the same series as Johnny Depp?
No.
It's and Cheggers. It's a weird mix, but yeah, we had Right Said Fred in, which was fabulous, and they are too sexy still.
And Ricky obviously had to put up with, for at the start, people thinking that he was like David Brent. Are you prepared for people to think you're like Warwick Davis, the character in Life's Too Short? Because you're obviously not very like him.
I hadn't thought about this until I'd been asked this a few weeks ago. Are people really that stupid to think that?
Yes, they are.
Because I spoke to Ricky about it, and he said, well, yeah, he said you should be worried because people actually send bereavement flowers to soap opera characters when a relative in the soap dies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I probably am a bit worried. But then again, I find it fun to sort of flirt with that line between reality and fiction. And, if people think that I'm really like that and this is a real show about a real showbiz dwarf, then we did our job exceptionally well.
Got away
Just
enough.
watch the new show, for God's sake.